This is the best.
Do you hear me?
Of the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Welcome back into the Paul Finebaum Show. 4 hours locked and loaded for you. Peter Burns here with the birthday boy, John Eagles Fly High Penn State apologist Hayes.
I got the best birthday present that I could ever ask for today.
What in the world was that?
The Philadelphia Eagles reported to training camp.
Here's what we're going to do, Finebombers. 855-242-PAUL. I'm not going to make you sing John Hayes happy birthday. That's not going to happen. There it is.
Oh, let's
But you
go.
do get a little Eagles love. Finished third in the NFC East, much like
touchdown,
Jim Harbaugh finishes tied for third in his Big Ten.
Hit 'em high. Wow, this really is making my day.
Is this your greatest birthday ever so far?
Fly, Eagles fly on the road to victory. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
Unbelievable. That's how we're going to lead off. That's how today is going to go. I want to tell you here, I called this when I used to do radio in Denver. By the way, Peter Burns filling in for Mr. Paul Finebaum. You can hit me up on Twitter at Peter Burns ESPN. When I used to host radio on Thursdays in Denver and in San Antonio, we used to do no-show prep Thursdays, right? To where by the end of the week, by Thursday, you had traditionally exhausted every single thing that you wanted to talk about, especially during football season, because it's like, how many times can I break down the Alabama offensive line going up against Florida State's D-line and what the first 10 plays are going to be scripted, right? We got 700 more hours of coverage to do that. And so we do a thing called No Show Prep Thursdays, to where you just came in and we just had fun. I had no idea what was going to happen. The callers took us directions. We zigged, we zagged. Hell, we just played the Eagles fight song. Not happy about it, but it just happened. Enjoy it. So I'm going to let you take us any place we want to go today. We do have a couple of guests. One of the stories we've been following probably it's going into a week now, but there continues to be kind of it's like the Russia-Trump story. It's like the drip, drip, drip of college football is the story coming out of Oxford. Down in Ole Miss, Dan Walken has kind of been on that story from day one, even before all the reports have come on. He was working on it. USA Today. He's going to join us at 3:30. Because yesterday a lot of people took umbrage to the fact that I said Houston Nutt had become kind of, from a man that went from trying to clear his name, which I get. Man, if somebody kind of puts me in a bad spot, I want to clear my name. But where does the pound of flesh that you get stop to the point of kind of running up the score and kind of looking almost like a little bit of an ambulance chaser? So I said that because I'm confused why Houston Nutt now, they're trying to find these burner phones in Yuma, Arizona. It's like it
feels like bloodlust.
I feel like that's the case, and I feel like Houston Nutt is a petty enough person that he would continue to do that. But I want to hear both sides of it. So I'm going to have Dan Walken on, who says, hold up, maybe there is a little bit something more to this that I'm not understanding. I got no problem going out on a limb. You know this, Finebombers, when I come into the Finebaum Show, I traditionally upset a lot of people. But I'm also willing to hear the other side of it. That's the only way you're going to learn. Anybody that sits on a pulpit and just says this is the way it is one of the most idiotic people that you can have. You have to have some type of conversation. So Dan Walken's going to come on 3:30 today. USA Today, Eastern. It's in about 25 minutes. He's going to give us an update on that. Aaron Suttles, Tuscaloosa News. Great karaoke guy. I saw him doing Flow Rider and a couple of different things at SEC Media Days.
Down?
Yeah, he was pretty solid. Bubba Sparks, he was decent. He's going to join us at 4 o'clock. We're going to replay a little bit part of the Nick Saban interview we had because, not that it was brand new news, but the way Coach Saban talked about that Tua will play, Tua has to play this year. I want to clarify what happened with that. South Carolina opens up camp. Josh Kendall from the state will join us at 4:30 Eastern. Kevin Skarbinski, one of the best, I think, in the biz, always reminds me of my old co-host Mark Kisla in Denver Post. He finds a way to get that screwdriver and kind of dig it into your ribs. And I think he's got some great opinions. We're going to talk about Alabama, talk about Auburn with him. And then Ross Dellinger, the world's worst pool player ever, is going to join us. He's from the Advocate in Baton Rouge. I kid with Ross because he's actually pretty good. We'll have some time with that. So we're going to talk about LSU coming up as well. 855-242-7285. And don't forget, if you're calling into the show, you have to wish John Hayes a happy 33rd birthday. Because how many times are you going to turn 33 in life, right? Did I get the number right, Hayes?
This is my last year of my 20s. Don't ruin it for me. I turned 29 today.
29. And that's all you've accomplished is become the producer of this show at 29. You know they have those lists for the top 30 underneath 30?
Yeah.
You got no shot at that, right?
I
40 under 40 possible? You got 10 years to do something with your life.
When I was playing baseball at about 15, I made the top 15 under 15 list.
Come on, really? Was that like in your county? Was that like...
You mentioned pool. I wanted to bring this up.
Yes.
You talked about Ross Dellinger playing pool. You know who is the best pool player involved with the Finebaum show? Take one guess. It's caller.
I would like to say it's Millie, but I don't think that Millie's going to be the person. Who do I want to say? Jim in Tuscaloosa?
You nailed it.
Come on, really?
Jim in Tuscaloosa.
Now, have you actually seen this, or is this like the stories that we get from Jim in Tuscaloosa, who I love?
It's a. I don't want to say it's a myth because I don't know if anyone's seen it, but Jim will tell you that he used to run the
Jim
pool
told me
hall
he's also shot
in
like
Tuscaloosa.
63 at Augusta National too, twice. Once left-handed, once right-handed. All right. I would imagine Jim would be that way. Let's get to your phone calls right now. Coleman, Alabama. What's up, Heath?
Hey, what's going on? Happy birthday, John.
Thank you.
Hey, just a question for you guys. What do you think about the possibility of Notre Dame playing Auburn in a football game?
I'd love it. I don't think Notre Dame would want to do it because they'd get their rear kicked. I mean, I think we're going to see that, right? Is it Georgia? Second week of the season? Is that the game that's headed out?
Notre Dame, Georgia.
Notre Dame, Georgia.
In South Bend.
In South Bend. I can't wait for it. I think after
Georgia.
That would be
great.
I can't wait for it. I think after Georgia absolutely destroys them right in front of Touchdown Jesus, and Touchdown Jesus just weeps. Nick Chubb and Sony Michel just embarrassed the Irish, as Mark Kubiak's probably going to come in here any minute now. I don't know. I mean, listen, if I'm Notre Dame, I get it. I would just have the patsies that you've had on the schedule for the last couple of years, just continue to do that, because that's the only way you continue to be relevant is the fact that you had the old NBC television contract. But yeah, I don't think they would want any piece of Auburn. I'd love to see it, Heath, but Auburn would destroy them.
I talked to Danny Sheridan, the world-renowned handicapper, about the Georgia-Notre Dame game this year. We were having a discussion on the show. What is the line heading into that game? Most people think Georgia is going to blow the doors off of Notre Dame. Greg McElroy at SEC Media Days talked about how Georgia was going to win by 21 points.
Do you know the line right now? Because I want to guess it.
I do.
Because I don't know. I haven't heard it.
Well, this is, according to Danny Sheridan, the number that he put out for this game.
So I'm assuming to be in North Bend, you're going to get 3 points. The home team always gets 3 points when you're looking at odds, right? So you start with Notre Dame's going to get 3 points. I say it may be 4 just because it's Notre Dame, right? There is the wow factor of going up to South Bend. I get that. It is a storied franchise, right? So 4 points. I think that Georgia is at least 2 touchdowns better.
Okay.
Maybe more, depending on what Jacob Eason can get his story together before during training camp. I'm going to say 14 minus the 6. I'm going to say they're going to be an 8.5 point favorite against Notre Dame.
Because of the home field advantage in South Bend, Danny Sheridan made Notre Dame a 2-point favorite.
No, come on.
Yes.
Go to the bank right now. Are you kidding me?
A 2-point
2-point favorite?
Yes.
You're going to let Kirby Smart go in there. They're going to – listen, I'm not one to advocate this at all because I don't bet. I'm not a gambling man. You know this. However, if I did happen to have money and I could put it on Georgia as an underdog, oh, my gosh.
On a neutral
I'm going to go get a second mortgage on my house today. That's it.
On a neutral field.
Fannie Mae's, whatever it is.
Danny would have made Georgia a favorite on a neutral field. And in Athens,
they're coming off, what, a 4-8 season?
Georgia would have been a 4-point favorite in Athens. So at this point, we're going into week 2 thinking that Georgia's an underdog. At Notre Dame.
My daughter's not born, but I think I'm going to pay for a college education on that game.
And if you think that blows your mind, wait until Mr. Mark Kubiak gets in here and talks to you about what he thinks about that football game.
Oh, gosh. I can't wait for that. 855-242, Paul's the number. Millbrook, Alabama. Trotsky, what's happening?
Hey, how you doing? Hey, John, happy birthday. You know, today's my birthday, too, man.
Birthday twins. Happy birthday, Trotsky.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, I wanted to ask you, if you could have one birthday sports wish. Now, it has to be sports-related. what would you want for your birthday?
Well, it's a great question, and if you heard the start of the show, it's a very simple answer: an Eagles Super Bowl, an Eagles Super Bowl W.
That's a fair one.
Yeah.
I guess. So you would take, just real quick, because the Finebaum callers know who you are. You would take a Eagles Super Bowl over a Penn State national championship?
Certainly would.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Penn State's won a national championship before. The Eagles have never won the Super Bowl.
That's fair.
It's a black eye on the franchise. Any argument you get in about the Eagles and the Giants and the Cowboys ends with the same thing. You've never won a Super Bowl.
All right, well, I'll throw you this question. Trotsky, it is your birthday. If you had to hang out with one SEC coach today on your birthday, no holds barred, out of any of the 14 right now, who are you taking?
It's got to be, of course, the greatest one of all time, Nick Saban.
You're rolling with Saban, okay?
Yeah, I would have to just to get around Nick. I would like to see if Nick Saban is as a lot of people say, behind closed doors, he's like a funny guy. So I just like to get with him and just see what type of person he is away from the football field.
Hang out at the lake.
There it is. They would hang out on the lake and lose 150,000 earrings like Julio Jones. All right. Trotsky, happy birthday to you. Hayes, mediocre birthday to you. 855-242-PAUL, Notre Dame apologist Mark Kubiak is going to join us because I still think that Georgia should be at least a 10-point favorite in that game. He'll try to talk me down on it.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
You're not worth a deal.
If you like college football, you've already downloaded. Over the last couple of years, it was called, what was it called? Championship Drive, right?
That's right.
Yeah, Championship Drive podcast, and now it's Campus Conversation. If you already had downloaded that podcast, nothing changes. It's the same. It's just we added a couple more voices. I'll be on it this year. Matt Schick will be on it. Heather Dinich, Ivan Mazel. We've got a litany. Ryan McGee. I mean, it's a bunch of us. We all throw it together. We have some fun. Starting next week, we'll start doing one kind of weekly or a couple times a week, and then starting, I believe, the 26th, it'll be daily. So make sure, if you haven't downloaded yet, Campus Conversation, check it out. I always like to have a conversation with this guy of USA Today. Dan Wolken joins us on the Paul Finebaum Show. Dan, I'm trying to phrase this properly here. What's worse, the emails you get from fans, the Twitter messages, or the text messages from coaches? What do you get the most vitriol and hate from?
Oh, coaches never text me anything bad. Coaches get it for the most part, and I think actually what's funny is what you get from coaches is more like gossip about other coaches. That's what you get from coaches. From fans, I really don't pay that much attention to anything. You see the Twitter messages, and sometimes if I'm, not doing a whole lot, or I'm at the gym and I'm in between sets or something like that, maybe I'll respond to a couple. But for the most part, you just got to let that stuff go.
Yeah, there's no doubt, and I would imagine a lot of it has been Ole Miss fans lately. You've been on this story for quite a while with everything that's happening in Oxford for, I guess, as the world turns here in the last week or so. You and I had a brief discussion offline yesterday, and I wanted to clarify. I looked at Houston Nutt saying, hey, you got your pound of flesh. Hugh Freeze is no longer there. I didn't understand how his lawyer looking into burner phones in Yuma, Arizona helps his case. I just frankly didn't get it, and I thought it was a little ambulance chasing and running up the score at this point. Is there a different viewpoint that I'm missing here?
Well, look, at this point in this proceeding, there's no question that Houston Nutt is looking for a settlement. And I think that what you've got now is an attorney who is really trying to crank up the pressure on Ole Miss. And I think there's a few volleys going back and forth between those two sides, and there's probably going to be some more. But as far as I know, up to this point, Ole Miss has not really wanted to engage on writing a check to make all this go away, which I don't know if that's a very good strategy based on the havoc that has already been wreaked by this attorney. And I think that yesterday, when he talks about more FOIA requests, when I say FOIA, I mean Mississippi Public Records Act requests, more digging into stuff. And look, here's what's going on: is does Ole Miss know what they don't know? if more stuff gets uncovered in this whole deal, is that something they want to deal with? Because, they've got a lot on their plate right now. They've got the NCAA thing. They've got a new coach and eventually a coaching search.
No, they have a football season to prepare. Yeah, exactly. And
they would like
all
to
of
wrap all this up. Yeah, and so how much more do they really want to deal with this? Because let me tell you something. This guy, Thomas Mars, is not going away.
Well, and my question is and that's what I had put it out yesterday, when they're looking at other burner phones and something with Yuma, Arizona, and they're still on this hunt. Are they on the hunt to clear Houston Nutt's name, or is this more to disparage Hugh Freeze? That's where I'm trying to find out what's the advantage or what's their end game here.
Life is leverage, and I think that the position that Ole Miss is taking up to this point with the Houston Nutt situation is that Houston Nutt will not be able to win a lawsuit if it goes to court for defamation or breach of contract or whatever. That's the position Ole Miss is taking. So
which is very hard against a public figure. Against a private citizen, traditionally, right, it's a little bit easier, but against a public figure, I'm just explaining this to the listeners. If it's very hard to claim that in defamation and succeed. Correct.
Well, and look, I would also agree that trying to prove damages in this case is difficult. I'm not a legal expert, but to say that Houston Nutt has been cost money or his reputation, then I don't know that's a hard thing to prove. Okay. But I also think that it's very clear what Ole Miss did, and what they did was wrong. And Houston Nutt was not the focus of this notice of allegations, even the first one. And I think pretty clearly there was a public relations campaign going on by Ole Miss to try to make people think that, because it was coming up on signing day. And that was wrong, and Houston Nutt was the collateral damage there. And if I'm Houston Nutt, I'm not happy about that. And I think an apology is not only warranted, but well-deserved. The position they're taking to dig in and not really acknowledge that, they're doing so in some ways waging sort of a guerrilla warfare that I don't know that they fully understand the implications of at this point. Because, again, they don't know what they don't know. And Tom Mars is on a hunt to find out.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to find. And that's really, we keep going around it, and it's not you, it's just kind of the problem in itself that they're trying to find information.
It's leverage. He's trying to find as much information to make Ole Miss look bad, to the point where they put up their hands and say, enough,
do you think that this would have been settled had Ole Miss apologized?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So with that being said, now it's become into the vindictive part of it, because let's say Ole Miss got together and just said, "Hey, you know what? We're going to apologize. We're going to clean the slate." Do you think that would end this all right now?
It's too late for that. I think now it's the money. It's the money thing.
Right. So it becomes an ambulance chasing thing with Houston Nutt, is saying, "Hey, listen, the day has passed. Now pay me." And that's why I said I'm trying to figure out if Houston Nutt, a man himself, is sitting there going, "Hey, you know what? There's a disgraced coach out here in Hugh Freeze, who there was a number that led to his resignation, but I want to take it even farther." That's why I'm trying to understand, because we've gotten to the point where the pound of flesh was Hugh Freeze has been fired. He'll no longer coach in the SEC, probably. I don't know where and when he will coach going forward, but now it comes across, and I can maybe be completely wrong here, but to me, it comes across petty that Houston Nutt goes, "Well, I didn't get my apology, so now I'm going to find as much stuff so I can get paid." And I think that is where I kind of lose it with Houston Nutt.
Yeah, but I really don't think Houston Nutt set out to get Hugh Freeze fired. I mean, that wasn't the intent. I mean, look, when they started this investigation into the phone records, they weren't expecting to find a phone call to an escort service.
Right.
That's not what they were looking for, phone calls to media members,
right?
Because they were trying to make the case that Hugh Freeze and Ross Bjork were calling media members, and then those media members were subsequently tweeting and writing things about the case that implicated Houston Nutt.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they were looking for. This escort thing, that was just blind luck. I mean, there was no belief that they were going to find anything like that.
This is what they were. Yeah, they were searching for sunken treasure. They just found the chest somewhere different than they were searching. Basically, that's what happened. So it's a crazy story. You have been boots on the ground with it. Follow him on Twitter at Dan Wolken. I appreciate the time. And yes, in between sets, I always enjoy you firing off the tweets. It's always fun stuff. We'll holler at you soon because I'm sure there'll be more of a drip of this story to come out over the next couple of weeks, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
You're not worth a flail.
It was BYOG, bring your own guts.
This is the best
Do you hear me?
of the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Actually, I tell you what, we're going to Aaron right now because Aaron, I want to play this this sound that we have. Aaron Suttles from Tuscaloosa News. This is go ahead and play what Nick Saban said on the show yesterday.
Well, I can't answer that. I think that you're 100% correct in the fact that Jalen was a true freshman quarterback who won the team, won the job over some other older, more experienced players, and he did a phenomenal job all year long. I think if there was a mistake, it was that we were probably as coaches a little risk aversive in putting too much on him in the passing game, thinking that it would be difficult for him to be able to manage those decisions. And I think in the end, when we played the good teams in the end in the playoffs, we would have been better if we'd have had a little more balance on offense and we could make plays in the passing game. So that became the number one goal for Jalen in this offseason is to become a more efficient, effective passer and to develop confidence in being able to read in the pocket and make good throws. And he's made tremendous progress at that. And, it wasn't his fault last year. It was our fault as coaches because we were risk aversive. We didn't want to put him in a situation that might not have been good for his development. But in the end, I think that was our mistake.
And also the mistake of Lane Kiffin acting like the petulant child he was the week after Washington, but that's a different story. Aaron, what is the quarterback situation expected to be down in Tuscaloosa this year?
Hey, Peter, let me first say that Nick Saban is maniacal when it comes to dissecting why he lost. And I've looked at this, I've studied this. He says it's a mistake. I completely disagree. When you had arguably the best defense in the history that Nick Saban's ever fielded, with a powerful running game, that was the correct way to handle a true freshman quarterback. I think you can call it risk aversive, and that's true, but I also think it was the correct way, and guess what? Even being one-dimensional, they came within 1 second of winning the national championship. Who's to say if they hadn't opened that thing up earlier in the season, how many times would LSU have turned him over in Tiger Stadium in Death Valley? They were playing to their strength, and it worked up until the very last second of the season. So I disagree with Nick there. I think it was the correct way to handle it. As far as where the quarterback situation is, it's Jalen's job, but they have absolutely no experience behind Jalen. So it's absolutely it's going to be stressed that Tua Tagovailoa is going to have to play. Whether he gets to play against FSU, who knows? But he's going to be playing the second week and the third week and the fourth week. He's going to have to because they have literally no experience behind Jalen Hurts at quarterback.
There are certain things that I feel confident about here on July 27th. One, I think Auburn goes into the fake Death Valley and beats Clemson. I think Florida whips up on Michigan. I think Georgia embarrasses Notre Dame in South Bend. I don't know if I'm 100% behind Alabama beating Florida State. Talk me off that ledge right now because I'm trying to get to that point. I'm not going to lie. I'm an SEC apologist. I got no problem with that. It's the best damn conference in all of the history of college football. But at this point, I have a hard time looking at it and saying with major conviction that Alabama is in a better spot to start the season than Florida State is.
Well, I think you're handling it rationally, objectively. I don't know, unless you're a rabid Alabama or Florida State fan, that you can say that one team is objectively better than the other. I just don't And if you do, then you know more than I do, which is congratulations. There are a lot of people out there that know more than I do. But I know Florida State's got issues on the offensive line. I don't know enough about DeAndre Francois. I need to watch some more film on him. My sense is he's a little bit like Jalen Hurts. You don't know exactly what you're going to get from him.
How he battled back last year in the second half against Ole Miss was nothing short of unbelievable. I mean, literally, it was like they played NCAA football on the PlayStation 3 and they changed to it beginner level strategy because he just absolutely killed. Now everybody did basically kill Ole Miss in the second half of games, but that was unbelievable what he was able to do.
Yeah, and he's a guy that's not afraid to stay in the pocket and take a hit and deliver the ball. My questions come because I think Alabama is going to be, I'm not going to say unstoppable on offense, but they're going to be really, really difficult to stop on offense. And if Jalen turns it on, good luck. If Jalen turns it on, they will be unstoppable on offense, given all the weapons they have. But I do have questions about the front seven on defense. I know they recruit well. I know how well they develop, and I know the history of Alabama's defensive efficiency the last 10 years. I get all that, but when you lose 6, not just middle of the road defenders, I'm talking 6 difference makers, and then you can throw Eddie Jackson in there to make it even an odd 7. They're going to take a step back. Does that mean they're not going to be great? Absolutely not. But they're not going to be next level good like they were last year.
Aaron Suttles from Tuscaloosa News, my guest here. Peter Burns filling in for Paul Finebaum. Last question for you here, Aaron. We got to roll. But what is this offense? What should this offense look like? Right? I just heard from Nick Saban say, and you rationally pointed out, hey, listen, that was the right offense for these guys last year, and that was in kind of playing it close to the vest. That's with Lane Kiffin. I got to imagine it's even going to be more so this year with Brian Daboll, the new offensive coordinator. I mean, what do you expect this offense to look like with him calling the shots?
I think it's going to be wide open. I think there's going to be more involvement of the running back side of the backfield, creating mismatches on linebackers, kind of like what you see from the New England Patriots, that kind of style of offense. I think the tight ends will be more involved than every Alabama fan that ever wondered what happened to O.J. Howard is saying, oh, now he's using the tight ends. But I think that's it. And I'm telling you, Calvin Ridley was good last year. He had 70 catches for 700-something yards, but they didn't utilize what he did best, and that was a deep ball because they didn't have a quarterback that could get him there. Jalen took the next step in A-Day, but A-Day in spring practice isn't live. He can't get hit. But I expect, with all those running backs, with I think an upgraded right side of that offensive line and all those running backs and all those receivers, Jalen running the ball, if he even just masters the intermediate passing route, good luck. Good luck stopping him.
Aaron Suttles, last question for you real quick. LSU, Alabama, give me the early final score prediction.
Oof. In Bryant-Denny, I'll go 24-10.
There you go. 24-10 Alabama or LSU?
Yeah, Alabama.
Okay, that's what I thought. Hey, great to see you. Get the voice ready. We'll do some karaoke soon, all right?
Sounds good, bud. Take care.
Coach, you just heard that.
What's up, Pete?
Aaron Suttles just said Alabama 24, LSU 10 in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Your rebuttal, kind sir.
Alabama fan. I expect him to say stuff like that. Man, I'm going to tell you something, man. They couldn't score 20 points last year. We're going to be even better. They couldn't score for 10 points last year. We're going to be even better this year. So how you get 20? And then we're going to be able to score. We didn't score last year. We're going to score this year. Man, you asked me at the end of my statement yesterday what I thought the score was going to be. I couldn't answer because we got off. I don't think we're going to lose a game, Peter. And I'm being straight up honest. I don't think we're going to lose a game this year.
Coach, what time do you wake up in the morning?
I wake up about 5 o'clock. I'm ex-military. I get up every morning about 5 o'clock.
I tell you what, I want you to come here to SEC Networks, and I want you before every single show, I want you to be my hype man. Before every single time I take the camera on SEC Now, I want you to be my get back guy in studio. We're gonna need to make that happen. You good with that?
I'm good with that, Peter. I'm good with that. As long as I can bring LSU with me, baby, I'm good with it.
Coach, thank you so much for your service. I appreciate it, and thanks for bringing some energy into the show. All right.
Okay, well, let me ask you one thing before you go, Peter.
Yep.
In all honesty, man, looking at what we done last year, man, we didn't give up any touchdowns. We're going to be better on defense. We got a 7 rotation. We didn't have that front man 7 rotation we got this year. We're experienced with seniors. The courts are coming back. We're going to be okay. And your honest opinion, tell me, why would you not think we got a chance to beat Alabama?
Coach, it's the passion. It's the pageantry. It's the 47 Red Bulls that you and Ed Ogeron had for breakfast this morning. I love it. I think Coach goes there in his LSU shirt, goes to a Starbucks, John Hayes, and says, give me the quintuple vanilla latte with 3 extra shots of espresso. I love the passion.
Coach is the man.
Coach is the man.
He's a tad crazy thinking LSU can go 12-0 this year.
Hey, listen.
12-0?
I go back and look at LSU and when they won national championships. Nobody thought Matt Mock was going to be an unbelievable quarterback, won him a national championship. Nobody thought Matt Flynn was going to be the end-all, be-all. They won a national championship. Danny Etling with Matt Canada, you never know.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
You're not worth a flill.
We go down to the State. That is Josh Kendall with the State, going to join us right now on the Paul Finebaum Show. Peter Burns in. Let's start with this, Josh, because we saw each other at Media Days. I want to talk South Carolina, but what is the talk with South Carolina fans is kind of seeing what's transpiring down in Oxford, and what's been your take as you cover an SEC school, but not in the middle of everything that's going on with Ole Miss?
Wow. Let's see. Okay, that thing's got a lot of tentacles. I think from a 20 or 30,000 foot view, I think every South Carolina fan or every SEC fan needs to think when one of their brethren gets in trouble, there but for the grace of God go I. Because let's be honest, it could be coming. Some of that stuff could be coming around the corner for anybody. So I think generally when you're an SEC school and your neighbor is about to come under the NCAA hammer, you should snicker quietly under your breath and just hope that everything works out for you. As for the rest of the Ole Miss stuff, I'm not, that's its own animal. So I think that that's one of those SEC West schools that's pretty far removed from the typical Gamecock fans' consciousness. So It's not a Texas A&M who they play every year, or even an Arkansas who they play a lot. So I think that they're like everybody else, just kind of watching the dumpster fire.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really what it is. Shifting gears, I was down there in Columbia in spring, and I left immensely impressed with what I saw from, I guess I still want to call him like an 18-year-old high school kid in Jake Bentley. I know he's not that, but with the leadership skills, and I had left there thinking this could be the most potent offense in the SEC East this year. What's your take on that?
It could be. I mean, the Will Muschamp narrative has been completely flipped. The first 5 years of his coaching career, head coaching career,
right.
It was this guy can really coach defense. His defenses are always good. If he could ever get an offense, if he could ever get a quarterback, he might be onto something. Well, he's got an offense. He's got a quarterback. I agree with you. It could be the best in the SEC East. I think the floor for this offense is pretty good, and the ceiling is really good. But now all of a sudden, his defense is not so great. So, yeah, if he could take this offense and stick it on one of those Florida defenses, he'd still be with the Gators. But he can't do that. So you got to get the whole thing fixed, and this whole thing is not fixed yet. So I think South Carolina went 6-6 last year. I think they could go a much more interesting 6-6 this year, just because they'll be more fun to watch, but not necessarily a better football team.
Probably going to give up a ton of points, and that's weird to say with the Will Muschamp-led team. I think, but you get Sky Moore back, but outside of that, I think that he just doesn't have his dudes in. But I think Muschamp does a good enough job of being able to kind of camouflage his weaknesses on defense that he'll be able to get it done. I think it's intriguing, the first game of the season. In looking at North Carolina State, what is, when you start looking at that, because coaches are, now that camp is opening, what are they looking for in that game? What is really the weakness of this team specifically?
Well, that first game is sort of the exact right first game, I think, for an SEC team. It's sort of a middle-of-the-pack ACC team, which gives you an exciting opener, but in general, those are the type of games you want to feel pretty good about winning. The problem is this NC State team is a terrible matchup for South Carolina because the Wolfpack defensive line is really good. And that offense's Achilles heel, or at least its unproven areas, are pass protection and being able to run the ball when they have to run the ball.
But other than that, they're pretty good, right?
Yeah, but other than that, they're fine. And that's going to be tough against NC State because Bradley Chubb can play. And they got 3 other senior guys up front who can play. And, so, that is going to be a litmus test. Regardless, South Carolina fans are feeling pretty good about the season right now. They're going to be scared to death on September the 3rd, regardless of the outcome, because that NC State defensive line is going to make things look bad at times. I'm not saying South Carolina can't make enough plays to win, but it's a bad matchup for the Gamecocks, and they are rightfully underdogs.
It's a quick interview here, but I wanted to ask you this finally. Who has a longer storied career in the SEC, Will Muschamp or Kirby Smart? Two guys that have been around this conference for an extremely long time. They know defenses. They sit there in the East. They're buddies. They're going to be battling one way or another, whether it's on the golf course or at the lake or whatnot. But when I'm hosting SEC Network shows here in a decade from now, which coach am I still talking about?
I don't. That's a tough call. I'll say Kirby Smart because his first job that he landed, I think he landed in a better spot, and a better opportunity and just a better place where it's easier to have success than maybe Will Muschamp has landed in his 2 head coaching spots. So because of just the way things shake out sometimes like that, I'll pick Kirby, but that's an interesting question, and let's catch up in 10 years.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Real quick, last one. Now I lied to you. Sorry, it won't happen again on this.
That's quite all right. I got plenty of time. For John on his birthday, I got all day.
There you go. Josh Kendall of the State joining me on the Finebaum Show. Can this South Carolina team under Muschamp get to where it was at under Steve Spurrier?
No. And that's not you could remove under Muschamp from that sentence, and the answer would be the same. Can it? Yes, anything can happen, but let's don't gloss over how remarkable 3 straight 11-2 seasons were for South Carolina. That is not just the golden era of Gamecocks football. That's far and away the golden era of Gamecocks football. The Steve Spurrier era didn't end the way anybody wanted it to end, but that guy is a top 10, 15 coach in college football history. And so you're saying to me, you put a gun to my head and say, will South Carolina ever go 11-2, 3 straight seasons again? I'll say no.
Hey, I don't think there's a whole lot of programs outside of what we've seen in Alabama. I mean, right. That can do that. So intriguing stuff. Hey, Josh, thank you for the time. Look forward to connecting with you. I think that's going to be a fun team to watch down in Columbia this year. All right, bud?
Sounds good, Peter. Thanks for having me.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
You're not worth a flip.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo!
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Bring your own guts.
This is the best
Do you hear me?
of the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
Ross Dellinger, of the Advocate and the worst pool player I've ever met, joins us now. You knew I was going to tell you that, right, Ross? I'm sorry. It had to do.
I heard you had a slip of a tongue there too. I'm bad at poker as well.
Oh, well, that means I'll invite you to the next poker game that we have. Although I am worried about anybody who says that I'm not a good golfer or not a good poker player, because that normally means that they want to gamble and then they take all my money. So I see you working here, Ross. You're a smart man.
Yes.
What is the storylines down in Baton Rouge? I don't know what the hell to think of this LSU team. Every time I think, you know what, they could be pretty good, I think, you know what, I don't know if Danny Etling can take the next spot. And then I think, well, Dave Aranda's there and Matt Canada's there. They're going to be awfully good. Where do we stand with this LSU team right here in late July?
Well, yeah, that's certainly one of the storylines is Danny Etling, and can he kind of be a difference maker, at quarterback? We only saw that, we saw that a little last year. We saw it again in the bowl game against Louisville. LSU kind of did what it wanted in that game, but Danny really lit it up. But we didn't see that a ton. So can he kind of be that difference maker guy? We know that he's a smart kid, and he knows the offense well, and he's learned the offense over the off season. He stays out of trouble and all that. And he's a fifth-year senior. He's so experienced, real veteran guy. But can he kind of be that difference maker with his arm? And so that's a storyline. Certainly, the drama kind of surrounding Arden Key is his leave of absence, and then his shoulder surgery, which he's still recovering from, and he won't start fall camp next week. He's a huge piece to what LSU wants to do defensively on a team that lost 7 starters.
Right.
You kind of need a guy like Arden Key,
You need Arden Key, especially you need him because when I look at the LSU schedule, it really doesn't ramp up until you start talking about Florida. Am I correct in understanding that as far as where the level of worry is? Of course, listen, a lot of people thought they were going to beat Wisconsin up in Lambeau, and that turned out a different way last year. But they feel like they could probably get by the first couple of weeks. It's not really until the Florida game where all of a sudden the pedal has to hit the metal.
Yeah, when you're talking, Peter, about just athletes and talent, you probably skip ahead the first 5 games and you look at Florida, because when you look at those first 5 games, now Mississippi State, of course, in the SEC's got talent. BYU, they open up at BYU, they're always a consistent team, but stacking up the talent on those 2 teams with the talent at LSU, the Tigers have pulled in top 5 recruiting classes, I think, the last 4 years. So when you look at where the teams as far as how they stack up with talent, especially skilled players, you got to go to Florida, and that's I believe that's Game 6, and it's down there in Gainesville. And so I was on another radio show earlier today. We were talking about Arden Key. If Arden is ready and healthy to go, Game 3 or Game 2 or Game 4. Do you just kind of say, yeah, but let's just make sure he's good, and let's wait until Game 6 when we really need him at Florida, and maybe that's what happens.
What's the expectation for Ed Orgeron in his first full season as head coach? Over and under 8.5 wins. What's the expectation level from LSU fans? Not the crazy diehards that, hey, listen, we're going 14-0. This is going to be the greatest team ever in the history of LSU football. What does the knowledgeable fan think about this season?
Well, yeah, you got to break it down a little bit. Losing 3 first-round draft picks, especially 2 of them on defense, and losing another 5 starters on defense. You do have Dave Aranda, and you might have Arden Key eventually, but the expectations that every year seem to be 10, 11 wins here. I think this year the feeling is more like 8 to 9. You just kind of get that feeling from the fans who are kind of realistic, as you're talking about. You get kind of an 8 or 9 feel from them. I think when you just look at everybody they've lost, and you look again at the quarterback position and not knowing a ton about LSU's new offense, first of all, and also not knowing if Danny can be that big difference maker passer. I think 9. I think if LSU ends the regular season at 9-3, I think there's a lot of people in Baton Rouge that say that's pretty solid for Ed's first year.
And that's crazy because I think the expectation level over the last couple of years has been, hey, it should always be a 10-win season. There's no reason why they shouldn't win 10, but they feel like now going on the road to Gainesville, at Bryant-Denny Stadium against Alabama in early November, that's a different thing. We see, last question for you, Ross Dellinger of The Advocate, late October, are we talking about Darius Geis as a Heisman Trophy candidate?
If we're not, then Darius has gotten hurt, I would imagine. Because I would be real surprised if November 8th or 12th or 15th rolls around and Darius is not in the discussion for the Heisman Trophy. And I think if he's not, something unfortunate has befell him because he's super talented. And as Ed Orgeron has said multiple times this offseason, he's kind of the perfect type back that you want in this spread offense that Matt Kennett is bringing in, where he's going to use Darius, he's going to motion him, shift him, use him at receiver, use him even on jet sweeps, then run him between the tackles. He's so versatile to do all of that, and it feeds perfectly into Matt Kennett's offense is Darius Geis' skill set.
Much more so, I think, than Leonard Fournette was. I mean, Leonard Fournette hit Les Miles and Cam Cameron's offense to a T, and I think Geis is much more of the running back that you would want running that offense. Am I correct?
Oh, absolutely. And Ed's kind of said that before. Ed was real honest at the bowl game. Somebody before the Citrus Bowl game this past December, somebody asked him about the differences in Darius Geis and Leonard Fournette, and he said, Leonard is best when he can get beyond the line of scrimmage. When he can get in the second, third level, that's where he's really good. Darius is kind of the opposite. He's best behind the line of scrimmage in dodging tacklers and kind of making little moves. He's just more versatile, but at the same time, he's really strong. So I would say that you're dead on there.
Ross Ellinger, I look forward to seeing you at next year's media days. Work on your pool game, and we'll break out the cards for a poker game as well. All right?
Yeah, I have to lay off the booze before I play you. That's really what happened.
No. I would say drink more. Drink more, my friend. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Ross Ellinger of The Advocate, our guest. All right, 855-242. Paul, let's get in a quick phone call here before the break. Dayton, Ohio. Byron, what's happening?
Hello, Peter. One thing I'd like to tell you is I always enjoy hearing you on the radio. You do a very good show.
Thank you, sir. We have some fun. Worst case scenario, we're talking football in late July. That's a hell of a thing to get paid to do.
Right. Now, one thing that I haven't heard anybody attribute Bama's loss to was they quit running the ball in the second half. They had all those 3-and-outs, and 1 second would have saved that game.
Brian, I think I go back and look, and I mean, listen, we can go put the Zapruder tape on for Alabama Clemson. It's not going to change the fact. Right? We're not hopping in a time machine. Alabama is not going to win that game by just going back here and overlooking it. I will say I was surprised that there wasn't more design runs for Jalen Hurts. I go back and look at I was there in Tiger Stadium for LSU Alabama, and I was shocked, frankly, that they didn't run Jalen Hurts more often than they did. I mean, I could tell both defenses were exhausted. It's not like Danny Etling was going to run the ball, but Jalen Hurts could. And I was surprised that there wasn't a lot more designed runs than what we saw from him. And so I think that's the big question coming up this year, and what Brian Daboll, that offensive philosophy is going to be interesting. You're going to see it week 1 against Florida State of what type offense are they going to run, because I'm getting two conflicting things from Nick Saban. Nick Saban came on the show here yesterday with me and said we were risk adverse for Jalen Hurts. We didn't put him up into enough, outgoing situations, basically jugular type situations. We didn't make him aggressive enough. Well, by hiring Brian Daboll, that almost signifies you're going from Lane Kiffin, who was the ultimate risk taker on and off the field, to a guy that's like, just don't lose me the game. And I call it what you want, call it game managing, call it being a little bit more conservative. I think that is a conservative offense. So I'm getting two conflicting reports of what the Alabama offense is going to try to be. Am I worried that Jalen Hurts can learn it? No. I think Jalen Hurts has gone over every hurdle. I'm sick and tired of Alabama fans saying, I don't like Jalen Hurts, and let's put Tua in there. Shut up. Shut up about it. There's 100, 105, maybe 110 Division I schools right now that would salivate, that the coach would do cartwheels naked in his front lawn if it meant Jalen Hurts was the starting quarterback coming up for 2017. This young man has done everything that's asked about it. And he almost won a national championship despite having Lane Kiffin acting like a fool, and basically having the league the week before the national championship game. And you're not going to give the kid the credit? Come on. Jalen Hurts is a stud, and he deserves to be treated as one.
You're listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast.
You're not worth a flip.
To the last Thursday before any football is played in the year. Is that correct, John Hayes?
I can't answer that.
No, you can, Nick Saban, because I believe we have the Hall of Fame game coming up next Thursday or some type of meaningless preseason NFL ball.
This is it.
This is it.
Talk to the wife.
We made it.
Talk to the fiance. Let the girlfriend know.
Done.
Thursday nights from here on out.
Thursdays are for the boys. But the SEC football, that's the difference. Like I go around conferences, and I travel a bunch, luckily, and you can tell, that's why it's crazy here in the SEC, because it's not just like Saturdays are for the boys. It's honestly, everyone loves SEC football.
That's right.
It's not just a guy thing.
No.
So you know why? Because it just means more. We're doing rapid fire here on the Finebaum Show. Peter Burns sitting in for Finebaum. All right, rapid fire. You guys are great. Full phone lines. We'll keep re-racking these. We're going to go as quick as possible. I want you to give me the quick reason why you're calling your shot for 2017. July 27th. John Hayes, are you ready to write these down?
I've got pen in hand.
You've got pen in hand. Do you have a second pen just in case we go so fast on these and you're not ready? There you go.
I got a
now,
Sharpie.
You got a second one. You have a Sharpie. Let's start with Monterey, Tennessee. Logan, call your shot for 2017.
2017, my shot is going to be Tennessee smoking LSU at home. It would be a 21-point victory, but I say they'll put one on late. So I'm going to call it 35-21 Tennessee. And go ahead and throw this out there. Dormy will get hurt halfway through. Garantano will be the starter, the dual threat, and he will smoke them.
Yeah, and then and he plays the rest of the year. Is that what you're telling me at that point?
That's what I'm saying. And both the Wolf brothers will have a touchdown apiece in that game.
Monterey, Tennessee. Logan is in here saying Tennessee beats LSU. All right, let's go to Chicago, Illinois. Rapid fire, 855-242-PAUL. What's up, John? Call your shot for 2017.
Hey, South Carolina Gamecocks will either be 10-2 or 9-3. They will beat either Georgia or Florida because Jake Bentley is the best quarterback in the conference.
God, so you're saying Vegas right now has the odds set at, I want to say 6.5. That's the over and under. John, you're calling your shot that South Carolina is either a 9 or 10 win season.
Yes. Because Jake Bentley is the best quarterback in the conference.
There it is. Did you write that down? You got that down?
Are we adding the Bentley?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You just said it. You got to do it. Thanks, John, for the phone call. Let's go to Alabama. Jacob, July 27, 2017. You're calling your shot, and your shot for 2017 is?
Alabama undefeated and beating Auburn by 21 points.
21-point Alabama win.
Roll, Tide, roll.
How much does Tua Tagovailoa play this season? If you're already giving me they're undefeated, they're gonna beat Auburn by 21 points in the Iron Bowl. Well, how much does Tua play?
How
much does he play?
Lights out, baby. Lights out. He goes.
All right, Spanaway, Washington. CJ, call your shot. 2017.
2017, I'm going Alabama undefeated, but we're going to murder Ole Miss 42-6.
42-6. The pesky 2 field goals on defense without the shutout.
Oh, yes. They're going to best try to get 2 little freaky field goals, but other than that, we have redemption against those boys, and they're not looking so good right now.
That's my favorite one so far.
So far, that may be the leader in the clubhouse. Give me a bonus because we need some tiebreakers here. The final score of Alabama-Florida State game will be what?
Oh my God. I go 28-7, Alabama.
28-7, Alabama. There it is. Washington is checked in. CJ's called his shot. Let's go to Nebraska, Norfolk. Justin. What's happening? Call your shot for 2017.
All right, I got Tanner Lee, obviously starting at quarterback for Nebraska, but 2 weeks in a row, October 7th, October 14th, Nebraska knocks off Wisconsin, and then the next week they knock off Ohio State, and they're going to sneak around, and they're going to win the Big Ten North this year. People are not giving them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, West, sorry, they're not giving the benefit of the doubt, and they're going to they were going to step out, and they're going to win those 2 games this year, I believe.
Big Red Machine back. That's what you're saying. Red shirt defense, the whole deal. Husker Nation. Yeah, are they a college football playoff team?
They are not this year. Give them 2 more years. I promise you. No one's talking about them up here, which is great because the local media gives them too much hype. But this year, they're not. So give them a couple years, but not this year, I promise you. But in 2 years, they will be.
Both those games are in Lincoln.
There you go. Justin,
they are.
Justin
Exactly.
has called his shot. Thank you, sir. Birmingham, Alabama. Sky, call your shot.
Calling my shot. I like to consider myself a level-headed Auburn fan. The last time I predicted us to win the national championship was 2010 with Cam Newton at quarterback. But this is my shot. We will. Auburn University. Auburn Tigers will win the national championship this year, as well as the SEC, and Jarrett Stidham will win the Heisman.
You're going Jarrett Stidham wins the Heisman. They win the Iron Bowl. They win the SEC, and Auburn wins the national championship. I'm just making sure. I'm repeating this so John Hayes is writing all these shots out, so that way we can review them.
Put it in stone, brother.
There it is. It'll be in ink for now. Go to H-Town, home of Scarface, Fat Pat, DJ Screw, all of it. Houston, Texas. Dave, talk to me. Call your shot for 2017.
I just want to add a little class to this program. I said Texas is going to shock the nation. I'd like to say hook 'em horns, and I predict Texas will beat Kansas this year. Thank you very much.
Texas beating the Jayhawks. You see, I wanted to get weird on the show today, and that's what we're talking about. All right, Dave, what makes you so confident that Tom Herman can roll in there and just take on the Kansas Jayhawks with the W? That's big talk, my friend. Unbelievable. Dave in Houston. Didn't think anybody was going to go out on a limb right now. Let's go to Gas in Alabama. Ross, call your shot for 2017.
Alabama loses 3 games next year.
No, what kind of idiot? What kind of idiot says that Bama would lose more than 3 games?
It's going to happen. They're going to have a quarterback controversy. Watch and see. Alabama's going to lose to LSU, Florida State, and Auburn.
Okay, hold on. You say they're going to lose to LSU, Florida State, and Auburn, and you think it's because of a quarterback controversy, Ross?
Yeah, it won't take long. Starting in the first game.
Realistically, I think they could lose 2 of those 3 games.
Yeah,
that's not far-fetched.
Right, and my aunt can become my uncle if there's a proper amount of surgery as well, too. I don't see that happening either, but it was strange things that happened.
Well, you just said earlier on the show that FSU is going to beat Alabama.
I don't. I say that there's an opportunity.
There's an opportunity.
For the other 2 of those chances, and like I said, there's a chance for my aunt to become my uncle. Just have to have surgery.
They haven't had a down year yet. They're about to have one.
All right, so you're in there. Ross says Bama loses 3 games. He's called his shot.
Iron Bowls and Jordan Hare.
Jasper, Dom, call your shot, 2017.
I'm going to go ahead and say that Alabama wins over Florida State 42-14 in the first game, plays them again in the first round of the playoff, and beats them 35-7.
So you have almost 40 points in the 2 different victories of Alabama over FSU. That's impressive. Yes. Okay. No quarterback controversy whatsoever. Is that what you're telling me?
No, none whatsoever.
Like it. 855-242-PAUL. That's 855-242-7285. You're calling your shot, Valdosta. Georgia
Bulldogs beat the stripes off the Tigers of Auburn. Meow.
Give me a score. Give me a score after your meow.
34-10.
Give me the score with the meow voice. Come on, bring it.
34-10. Meow.
There you go. Hey, what is the final bonus question for you, Don? Call your shot. Georgia over Notre Dame. That's happening. That's not even. Listen, that's embarrassing. But what's the final score?
That right there is looking like 38-12.
38-12. I get it. 2 blocked extra points. I love it, Don. Meow. Charleston, South Carolina. Terry, call your shot for 2017.
University of South Carolina wins the East, beats Georgia by 3, and beats Clemson by 10.
Woo! How you think Will Muschamp would love that? You think he might get fired up for that?
He's going to happen, brother. Count on it.
Terry in Charleston, South Carolina, my favorite city in the United States. Enjoy it. Dothan, Alabama. Brian, welcome in the Paul Finebaum Show with Peter Burns. Call your shot for 2017 football season.
Okay, my 2017 shot will be that Alabama loses their first game against FSU, and then they will lose again against Auburn. Auburn and Georgia will be in the SEC championship, and there will be no SEC team in the playoff this year because the SEC will have a really down year.
Brian, I'll tell you what. what you described is exactly what I said yesterday as a nightmare scenario potentially for the SEC, is that you would have a Bama losing to Florida State, an Auburn team who has a very tough schedule, ends up beating Bama, and then you have a Georgia team. Then let's say you got a 2-loss Auburn team, and they go ahead and end up defeating an East team that may have a shot where it only has 1 loss. That could be tough to get into the college football playoff that way.
Yes, it will. I actually have Georgia taking 2 losses, one to Florida and one to South Carolina.
There you go. Gift with purchase. Thank you. Panama City, we go. James, call your shot, 2017. John Hayes, are you getting tired writing these down?
I'm a machine over
You
here.
are a machine. That's unbelievable. Panama City, what's happening, James?
Hey, how's it going? He was close with the Florida stuff, but I'm a Kentucky fan. I'm calling my shot. They're going to beat the longest losing streak in college football this year by beating the Florida Gators, winning the SEC East, and losing to Alabama, and then having a top 10 recruiting class because we won the SEC.
Eat 'em up, cats, baby. I don't know if you're related to Mark Stoops, but he loves it. All right, James, Panama City calls his shot. Louisville, Kentucky. Chris, call your shot.
Well, that guy's wrong. Louisville 11-1. We beat Clemson 31-17. Lamar has a better year than last year, but finished the second in the Heisman this year.
There you go. Chris is in here. One more last one. Meridian, Mississippi. Jay, call your shot.
Hey, what's going on, man? Roll Tide roll.
I'm thinking I know where your shot's coming from.
Hey, look here. They call them War Eagle, but after they play them this year, they're going to be called War Buzzards.
All right. Give me your Alabama LSU prediction.
Alabama LSU prediction. It's going to be 32-7. And Alabama's going to take that elephant trunk and smack that little old kitty cat around down there out of Baton Rouge. And Ed Ogeron going to be drinking about 12 packs of Red Bull after the game.
I think he's got a Monster deal now. No, that's Dana Holgerson out of West Virginia. I think he had to go from Red Bull to Monster. That I like it.
Yeah, we lost to the Crimson Tide, so I got to get run out of town. Roll Tide.
Jay and Meridian, great stuff. We got one more segment left. It's Peter Burns in for Paul Finebaum.
Thank you for listening to the Paul Finebaum Show podcast. The Paul Finebaum Show airs weekdays on the SEC Network, beginning at 3 Eastern.